Hello, and welcome to the Covert Nerd Podcast. Thank you for listening. It means a lot to me. I really am excited about this episode because I enjoyed recording it and working with Lee on this episode. It was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoy listening to it as much as we enjoyed recording it. Lee came up with this concept and we just ran with it, so I give him all the credit for this episode. You can find him at The Art of Lee Bokma on Facebook, and I'll include a link in the show notes. You can also go to covertnerd.net to find out all the other different ways that you can get in touch with me via Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, email. But let's just dive right in and nerd it up. Today on Covert Nerd, we have a little bit different format. We're going to do what we call a nerd deathmatch. So I'm here with Lee Bokma. You can find him on Facebook at Art of Lee Bokma, and I'll include a link in the show notes. So the way the format's going to be is we each picked 3 characters, and we're going to pit our character against the other person's character, talk about their history, their power sets and abilities, and then decide who would win the nerd deathmatch. So we'll get started with the first nerd deathmatch, which we've kind of subtitled Wimps to Wonders. So I think this will be fun. I really appreciate Lee coming on and doing this. We talked about it. Thought this would be a fun format to do. So Wimps to Wonders. My first pick is the Hulk from Marvel. Of course, the wimp side of it is Bruce Banner. He was introduced in May of 1962 by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, which I didn't know that. Jack Kirby was involved with that as well. And as many of you know, in the early 60s, everybody got their power sets from an accident, it seems like. And Bruce Banner is no different. He was hit by a gamma bomb, which caused him to transform into the Hulk when he gets angry or stressed out. He was introduced in 1962. He started to appear green, like we know him now, in Incredible Hulk #2 because the printer that Stan Lee had lined up couldn't do the gray coloring that he originally started out as. He couldn't get it matched, I guess, and so they switched to green, which they said would be more consistently green, and they had, I guess, more of it. I don't know. It was kind of a weird thing. That's how he got started, and he's been on and off. He only went 8 issues that first run, and he was in the Avengers, and then they tried to bring him back, and then wouldn't sell too well, so they get canceled again. And so he had a lot of back and forth. He's been real inconsistent. Even the movies you see now, real inconsistent with that. For some reason, they just can't write it, I guess. But they did a TV show in the 70s with Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno that lasted for 2 years. So I don't know why it's been so. It wasn't more than 2 years. It was, I think, 4 years. But anyway, it went quite a while. I don't know, did you ever watch the Hulk TV show?
I did. I remember watching the old Lou Ferrigno Hulk episodes. Yep.
They had a cartoon back in the early 80s, which I watched. I think it was only, again, 1 season there, too. I don't know that they went more than 1 season with that as well. So he's been kind of on and off as far as popularity. I think in the new Avengers movie, he's fairly popular, but for whatever reason, they can't get a good movie. So that's kind of the Hulk's story, where he started from. Of course, the Hulk smash. Big catchphrase.
Right.
You buy the Hulk hands.
Yeah.
That they keep reintroducing every time the movie comes out. And let's see, what's the other? Oh, Hulk is the strongest one there is another one. So the kind of common catchphrase. So the Hulk.
All right. Well, anyway, thanks again for having me on the show. It's always a good time to get the Lee and Lee matchup going again.
Exactly.
It's lots of fun. So Wimps to Wonders, to match up against the Hulk, this was a tough one. So I've chosen He-Man from the Masters of the Universe. Obviously, his wimpy alter ego is Prince Adam. I'm sorry. He-Man being his Wonder ego. And then, so anyway, 1981, He-Man was a product of Mattel Toy Company, and he came along with an accompanying cartoon series and a mini comic collection that came with him. Ran for about 6 years until 1987, when the toy line kind of imploded upon itself with a terrible live-action movie. My personal opinion. Sorry if you like that show. It has been relaunched several times in the early 90s. There was a New Adventures of He-Man where he went into space. In the early 2000s, there was a reboot cartoon that kind of went a lot more in-depth and kind of matured the storyline a lot. And it also came along with an accompanying comic book line with that as well. And then in 2012 until present, DC Comics apparently owns the rights to Master of the Universe, and they've relaunched He-Man several times in short series and crossovers from 2012 till present.
Yeah, I read the Injustice versus He-Man.
Right.
And they had Thundercats versus He-Man.
Right.
Both pretty good. I thought the art was good.
Yeah, DC's done a pretty good job with the He-Man comics in their last 6-7 years or whatever they've had the rights. So
I just watched the 2002 series, a couple episodes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, it's very anime-ish.
Right,
the
right.
fight scenes, they do a lot of jumping and spinning and and whatnot. But you're right, the storyline is much deeper.
Right, yeah. I've watched the whole reboot cartoon. In fact, I think that's the only the original vintage cartoon. I doubt I've seen every episode. Even though I loved it as a kid, I'm sure I missed some, and I've never gone back. And I don't know how many episodes there are. There's probably dozens of them.
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
even over 100.
Yeah,
it ran for years.
It's on Netflix. I haven't.
Right. Yeah. But the reboot, it's only like a season or two long.
2 seasons.
So yeah, it's pretty easy to swallow.
12 or 14 episodes each, I think.
Yeah, so I know I've watched all of that, and it's a really great storyline.
Sure. I don't know if you call Prince Adam a wimp, though. It takes a real man to wear a pink jumpsuit.
Yeah, this is true. He is confident in his masculinity, for sure. And since you do bring up Prince Adam, he does have a couple of variations. In the vintage one, he is, the grown man wearing the pink vest and the purple boots and the white tights. But in the reboot in the 2000s, he's like a 15, 16-year-old boy who wears a more stylish red jacket and not so tight.
Ditch the pink.
Yeah, he becomes much less dandy, I guess.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, you're right. He's a teen boy in that one. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. On to the kind of the power sets and abilities of each character, and we'll spend a few minutes on each one. The Hulk, of course, we know when he gets angry, that's when he hulks out and gets big. And depending on the artist, he's 7 to 8 feet tall, weighs about 1,400 pounds.
Yikes.
Yes. You do not want to meet him in a dark alley. And he's had several iterations. He's the big, dumb monster, so to speak,
right.
Frankenstein. In fact, that's where Stan Lee got his idea from. It was the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde concept.
Okay.
When I'm over here, I'm like this. When I get angry or
he's
get
just
upset.
like kind of the dumb brute.
Yes.
Not in control of his faculties, so to speak.
Yes. So they've had, early on, that was the iteration they had. But then later on, they came up with the concept. I remember reading there was a What If comic that said, what if the Avengers lost the Evolutionary War? Evolutionary War was a storyline back in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And the concept that they got there was, what if Hulk had his strength, but also had Bruce Banner's intelligence?
Okay.
What would happen? And that's where then off and on, when they would reintroduce Hulk for a little while, that he would sometimes have that, and other times he didn't. Currently, in the new Incredible Hulk, he is kind of the monster, quote unquote, air quote, dumb monster.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea is when he gets angry, he gets strong, and the limits of his strength and powers, depending on how angry he is. So the more angry he is, the stronger he is.
Okay.
And in the World War Hulk storyline that they did, he was, I guess, really angry, and so he took out most of the Marvel Universe. He fought Colossus and bent his arms back.
Oh.
And he even said, Hulk even said, in the past, if we fought each other, we would probably go toe-to-toe.
Mm-hmm.
He says, I'm so angry now that you're insignificant.
Really?
He just bends his arms clear back.
Yikes.
Yes. And then in one other episode or issue, Hulk tears Wolverine in half. Just grabs him and just tears him in half. Which,
yikes.
If he has an adamantium spine, I don't know how that works, but
yeah.
So I thought that was interesting when I was doing that or researching this. The Beyonder, as we know from Marvel, he analyzed Hulk's physiology and said that in his opinion, Hulk has no finite element inside of him, so that means his power is unlimited.
Limitless. Wow. Long as you can maintain the anger, huh?
Yes. He has defeated characters in the Marvel Universe like Onslaught. He has also gone toe-to-toe with the Sentry from Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
And Sentry has gone toe-to-toe with Galactus, and has been a stalemate. But as we all know, they really have kind of powered down, in my opinion, Galactus over the years.
Oh, yeah.
Because early on, obviously, when he faced Fantastic Four, he was really tough. But then, in my opinion, it seems like they've kind of toned him down a little bit.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
Okay.
Other characters he's defeated is the Galaxy Master, which is a biomechanical cosmic entity created by otherworldly beings. He's kind of an obscure character.
He sounds like he's trying to cut in on He-Man's action. He's the
Yeah.
master of the universe,
There-
Galaxy Master. What the heck?
Galaxy, yeah. That's Stan Lee. Let's see, that Galaxy Master 1969.
Okay.
So
He's got He-Man beat by a little bit.
there you go. Now, obviously, depending on the writer of the Hulk, his power sets vary. There was an issue in, I think, 2012. Greg Pak, he said that the Hulk was stronger than any mortal and most immortals who ever walked the earth.
Okay.
Depicts him, and then in another issue it depicts him punching his way between temporal spatial dimensions. So he punched through time and space.
Wow. That's tough.
Again, yeah, that's I don't know. I guess maybe I'm a traditionalist. I'm like, okay, it seems like the artist or the writers really vary on his abilities. He also has a very, very, very fast healing factor. In fact, his future self, who was called the Maestro, was able to recover from being blown into powder.
Well, that's pretty regenerative.
Yeah, so we think Wolverine or Deadpool, who can, heal really fast, but I guess you get blown to dust and you still come back together.
Yeah.
We may have to put some of those power sets over here. It's the far-reaching. Obviously, he can't fly, but he can jump real high. We've seen the cartoon where he would do that,
right.
Jump miles. So he's very strong, very agile, very quick. I probably would say, I don't know, punching through time and space would be where I'd put his main power set. But yes, he could definitely take out tanks, take out a mountain. Possibly, they have some instances where he has moved moons, I think. I was doing some research. So
nice.
So there, I guess that's his power set. So it's but I think if you have his in an Infinity Gauntlet in the comic book, if you read that one, he has his Bruce Banner intelligence and his strength together.
Okay.
And I read that they would calculate Bruce Banner's intelligence cannot be measured by IQ tests. So we're talking Albert Einstein or higher level. Probably not Reed Richards, level of intelligence, but definitely maybe Tony Stark, if you want to look for some example, Professor Xavier.
Sure.
So very smart.
Genius level intelligence.
So I think if you combine those two, which I would probably that would be more in the normal power sets.
Yeah.
He could definitely be a force to reckon with.
Right.
Because you have the intelligence and the strength.
I'm wondering how that plays out where you mentioned he gains his strength through his anger. Like the more angry he gets, the stronger he gets. But if you couple that with a genius level IQ, obviously anger is a very base emotion that you don't see genius level people really exhibit or delve into or just succumb to. There's that logic that won't let you do it. So I don't know, maybe when he's got his Bruce Banner intelligence, he just kind of loses a little bit of that strength edge.
Well, yeah, and I was reading too. They started out with the anger, but then later on, I think it was in the late 70s and 80s, they said it was more just under stress.
Okay.
So it wouldn't necessarily have. But yeah, you're right. If the more angry you get, the stronger he gets. But in World War Hulk, he had that anger, but he was more, I guess, suppressed or under control.
Right.
Because he still had his at least the way they wrote it, he had his normal faculties.
Right.
He was very intentional about what he did and said because he was just, I guess, so angry. A little bit on the World War Hulk, they shot him into space. He landed on this planet.
That'd make you angry.
Because they couldn't, because they thought he was uncontrollable. Uh-huh. And that's the thing with the Avengers and the Hulk. That's always kind of the dynamic is we don't know how he's going to do in a battle.
Yeah, he's like
he could turn on us.
Card, right?
Yeah, so he could turn on us was the whole thing. And back to him in the animated movie that Marvel did a while ago. He on the strength set side, he actually was able to pick up the Stormbreaker hammer from Thor.
Oh.
And so that's how strong he was in that case. He was strong enough to pick that up.
Okay.
But that was in that animated movie was the same thing. We can't control him. They ended up having to fight the Hulk instead of the enemy because they couldn't control him. So I don't know how they balance that. You're right. If you're angry, usually you're not making good decisions.
Right. And that's interesting you bring up that he lifted up Thor's hammer because I didn't think that was a measure of strength. It was a measure of worthiness, and it was kind of a mystical thing. But that's kind of Yeah,
I don't know how they did it.
The lines there.
The way I interpreted it when I was watching, it was a strength factor because he tried to grab it with one hand,
yeah,
and he had to reach back down with his other hand before he was able to get it off the ground.
Interesting.
So anyway, his power sets really vary from writer to writer, but that's not just the Hulk. That's a lot.
Right. Well, that's kind of the beauty of these comics that are like 60 years old is they've accumulated so much, like, I don't know, just like riffraff over the years of like random stuff that different writers or artists or marketing teams or whoever is plugged into it and like picking a coherent storyline out of like 60 years of comics. I mean, it's like, how do you do that?
Well, they all want to do something different.
Right.
So where do you go? Okay,
right.
So we're going to make Hulk intelligent and smart, and we're going to have him punch through space.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy.
You know, so
crazy.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what I have for the Hulk.
Okay. Well, He-Man, he gets his power from the power of Grayskull, the mystical power on Eternian, and he channels that through his power sword. So that is how he achieves his power. No gamma radiation or mutation involved.
No lab accident.
It's a totally intentional transformation. In a lot of the episodes, he's referred to as the most powerful man in the universe, quote unquote. So again, different universe than the Hulk-ish, maybe. I don't know. There's all these alternate universes you could go into. He's done a lot of obviously almost unlimited strength, superhuman strength as well. In the original mini comic that introduced him, he needed a house, so he found a nearby mountain and punched it into the form of a house that he needed. In one episode of the cartoon, he's able to lift Castle Grayskull out of the ground and throw it through a dimensional doorway. So he's lifting entire castles.
The guy knows how to build and move.
Yeah, he's the guy you want to hire when you're for home improvement. Anyways, lifted mountains, lifted icebergs. Throw them at enemies. There's one episode where there's a broken metal chain and he picks the chain up and he just basically smashes it together so hard that the metal relinks itself, like chemically, I guess.
That's awesome. That's like a Superman movie, squishing the coal into a diamond.
And their diamond, makes a chemical change just through brute strength. He is, you mentioned the Hulk, threw some moons around. Eternia's got a couple moons, and one of the cartoon episodes, Eternal Darkness, I think it was called, he pushes a moon out of orbit for a specific reason. I can't recall at the time what it was for. And then afterwards, he pushes the moon back into orbit to return it to its normal case. So again, I think very similar strength in feats to what the Hulk did, minus the punching through dimensional space. As of yet, who knows? Like the Hulk, he's pretty quick and acrobatic despite his size and strength. In a lot of the episodes, he's seen running, doing flips, jumping high, heights up on mountains and cliffs. And then he seems to also have like this superhuman speed that kind of like the Hulk, where it's really kind of randomly shows up. Like he only uses it for random things, but not all the time. There's one episode where he swings his arms so fast that he creates a whirlwind that counteracts a tornado and causes it to like dissipate, which is pretty crazy arm speed, I guess. Yeah, and there's also one more crazy episode where he, this makes absolutely no sense, but his arms were chained up or bound up, and he couldn't move his arms, which completely defeats the point of his super strength.
Yeah.
But there was like some oncoming bad guys in these vehicles, so he uses his super breath, and he basically blows like a mini cyclone into existence, and it causes the bad guys to spin like out of control through the air. So you're seeing some like Superman-ish kind of powers, I guess, where he's got the super breath. But speaking of Superman, you mentioned several villains that the Hulk has overcome or come toe-to-toe with. In some of the DC crossovers with He-Man and Justice League, He-Man is seen kind of going toe-to-toe with Superman, and they kind of go to a stalemate. So that kind of tells you, I guess, what par he has as far as his super abilities go when he's in his He-Man form. So there you go. There's He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe.
Can he freeze a lake and then use it to put out a fire? Like Superman? I think it was Superman 3.
Yeah.
Did that. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, he used his breath to like freeze the lake and then lifted the lake. Yeah, he probably could.
Yeah.
But that cuts in Snout Spout's action because he's Eternia's firefighter, and you don't want to do that.
So. Yeah, he might be part of a union. So.
Yeah, that's right. You don't want to upset the other masters and just
awesome.
taking their gig.
And he's got the sword. Kind of talking on that, I've seen in comics where his sword can shoot energy. I don't know if you know.
Yeah, I've seen some ones where it shoots energy
back and forth.
I've seen some ones where it also deflects energy and magical stuff, like when Skeletor shoots him with his, nebulous energy bolts or whatever, he deflects it off. So, yeah, the sword has some powers as well, just beyond his, brute strength.
Sure, and he's got because of the toy line, of course, you've got a lot of iterations of different weapons.
Yeah.
The Power Punch, He-Man, he's got his shield, of course.
Right, he came with a battle axe originally.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, a battle axe, a shield, and half of the power sword.
Okay.
When they, because in the original toy line, like, Skeletor had half, and he had half, and whoever could combine the sword could open Castle Grayskull, and then when the cartoon came out, Skeletor had no sword.
Yeah.
And He-Man had the whole power sword, and he owned kind of Castle Grayskull and all that's right. So, different storylines, but, yeah.
Okay. I think the interesting thing with He-Man is that he does have so many iterations and variations, and each cartoon episode, at least on the cartoon side, kind of had to one up sometimes so that it ends up almost like a Happy Days where you have to jump the shark.
Yeah, exactly. And the cartoons, obviously for a very young audience, so he never really uses his sword, and even though he's got this thunder punch ability, he never really punches anybody. He just kind of throws around inanimate objects and knocks people over. But if you get into the rebooted cartoon, there's definitely a little more violence there. And if you get into the comics, there's a lot more violence there. Yeah. I recently reread when DC initially did a He-Man launch in 2012. I read the story arc they had there, and in that story arc, Skeletor, one of his spells had caused He-Man and all the Master Universe to lose their memory, and they forgot who they were. And while they were I think He-Man became a woodsman or something like that, Skeletor took over Castle Grayskull, and slowly He-Man got his memory back. And as he did, he was just wading through Skeletor's and Evelyn's henchmen, with his sword, blood
waylaying all of them,
raising villages on his way to get to Evelyn's castle or to get to Castle Grayskull. And just in Tila and Man at Arms were helping him, but just the body count was in the hundreds probably. It was brutal.
Interesting. Yeah. So there's the moral compass there for He-Man. Could be
at least in the DC that story
DC iteration.
Anyway. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. Speaking of the battle, then I guess if these guys go toe to toe, I think, in my opinion, Hulk obviously doesn't have it. If he's the air quote monster version of himself,
right?
I don't think he would be above. Obviously, he tore Wolverine in half. I don't think he has any problems killing somebody.
Yeah,
and so I think that's one advantage, I guess, if they were go toe to toe. He's not going to hold back.
Sure,
at all.
That's and I would agree with you totally that the Hulk's ability to go the extra inch, I guess, and if I would at least come over the cartoon He-Man. But if you're saying the edge, I think that, in my opinion, that He-Man would have is traditionally he maintains his intellect and still has his strength, where the Hulk is kind of loses it and becomes this brute. And I think He-Man could use that because he's fairly intelligent. He out-tricks his opponents a lot in the cartoons. And I think he could use his intellect to maybe get an edge on the Hulk, where maybe their strength is kind of going toe-to-toe, but he has that intellectual edge to kind of maybe gain an advantage.
And typically the Hulk doesn't have weapons, so I would say if they're going to go toe-to-toe, if He-Man has his power sword, shield, battle axe, whatever, obviously he's going to have some advantage. That's why I was asking, does the sword shoot energy? Yeah. Because that might give him an advantage in a long-distance attack.
Sure.
Because if you can blast him with his energy from his sword, he might be able to knock him down.
I'm thinking you just ditch the sword. I'm picking up a mountain and I'm throwing it at the Hulk.
If it's the cartoon version, he's not going to use his weapons anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
That's true. Good point. He's going to throw a boulder. He's going to throw a tree.
Right.
Something like that.
I'm going to find something heavy.
Exactly.
And throw it at you in a distance fight.
Exactly. Yeah. Throw parts of Modulok. Can you use Modulok as a weapon?
That is self-defeating because it doesn't hurt. And it'll just make the Hulk angry, increase his strength. Nobody likes to get hit.
Nobody likes Modulok.
Yeah, nobody likes Modulok. Nobody wants to get hit by a dismembered, flappy leg in the face.
If you're the listener, you don't know what we're talking about. Eddie at the Make Eternity Great Again podcast hates Modulok, so we always have
I think it's universal. Joke. I think all Eddie, Jeff, Carl, and 9/10 of the human race hate
I don't know. I went to Toys from the Past, and they had a Modulok there in the box.
Oh, really?
And it was gone about a month later, so somebody likes him someplace.
Somewhere. I know growing up, my brother, he liked the most outlandish, like weirdest toys. So Modulok was like right up his alley. And he had the Modulok toy. And this past summer, rooting through my parents' attic and digging out all these toys to, having some sense of nostalgia. My brother's Modulok was there and, asking him, does he want it? And like, no, he doesn't care anymore. So I instantly took Modulok, went down to Toys from the Past and sold it because I was not going to sully my shelf.
Soil your shelf with Modulok.
Exactly.
Oh, funny. But yeah, I think if He-Man and Hulk were to go at it and Hulk maintained the Bruce Banner intelligence, then I think it might be a little more going to a stalemate or at least more of a fight. Yeah,
Bruce Banner is clearly more intelligent than He-Man. No one ever accused He-Man of being a genius. At best, he's got average to slightly above average intelligence, I think. Anybody who hangs out with Orko that much can't be all that right.
Good point. And force Cringer to be your battle cat,
right?
But yeah, I think if given enough time, and I guess this can be the case with anything, if Bruce Banner / Hulk knew he was going to fight He-Man ahead of time, I think he would have a strategy well planned out in advance. Yeah. But you're right, if it is just the quote-unquote dumb Hulk, he's just going to Hulk smash.
Hulk smash.
I'm not going to plan anything. I'm just going to go at it, and we're just going to punch each other to death.
You're right.
And that, again, the power sets, too, in the Avengers movie, if you remember, I think it was Age of Ultron, the Iron Hulkbuster takes out the Hulk.
Right.
Which, again, I don't know how that works. Again, I think in that movie they kind of powered him down a little bit in that respect.
Right.
In my opinion.
Yeah, they needed a way to control him, so they made the Hulkbuster suit a little slightly more powerful, apparently. But then it begs the question: is why doesn't Iron Man just use the Hulkbuster suit?
Yeah, then why not have the regular suit?
Just
maybe it's. I think the idea is it's kind of bulky and heavy.
Yeah, I guess
slows him down. So
yeah,
but so I think I would concede He-Man might have the edge here on this one, but you, the listener, what do you think? Hulk or He-Man? So that leads us to the next one, which is our boy band brawl.
Oh, here we go. And we're not talking Menudo versus NSYNC.
There you go. That would be funny. No, this is the Goonies versus Jonny Quest and Pals. So I went first last time, so let's let Lee go this time with Jonny Quest.
Okay, so yeah, I've picked Jonny Quest as my boy band to win this brawl in the Battle of Junior Adventurers. So Jonny Quest's intro, he was a Hanna-Barbera cartoon introduced in the 1960s, mid-60s in fact. He had actually subsequent TV series that were relaunched later down the line. There was a couple of television films that went along with the cartoon. 3 computer games have been generated in the line. It's had 2 decades of reruns, so even though it originally started in the 60s, I recall watching these cartoons in the 80s when I was a child. And it was one of my my favorite cartoons. I'm one of those guys that, I enjoy a good silly cartoon, a Looney Tune, or a Laugh Olympics or whatever. But I was really drawn to the more realistic cartoons like Thunder the Barbarian, Jonny Quest, those kind of more, I don't want to say a more mature storyline, but they were just more serious in tenor. And I really enjoyed those cartoons as a kid. So that's why I was drawn to Jonny Quest. Later in the 90s, just like He-Man, Jonny Quest was reintroduced in The Real Adventures of Jonny Quest, and they kind of put a new twist on it with new technology and some new characters. So yeah, there's the background of Jonny Quest and his pals.
Yeah, I thought it was, as we were talking about, it was a pretty, especially for the time, or even today, it's a pretty edgy cartoon.
Yeah. We were discussing before the show. I was watching this documentary on YouTube. It's actually 3 hours long, and I haven't watched the whole thing yet. But they were showing some clips of these cartoons. And keep in mind, this is the 1960s, and I couldn't believe how violent it is. There was a scene where a guy crashed a plane into a mountain after a condor ripped off his wing, and he was a villain, no less. But there was no parachute that came out of the plane like you would see in the G.I. Joe cartoons or any of the cartoons of the 80s. And that guy just crashed into the mountain and fire explosion, and he's dead. And there was another episode where this villain, his henchman was kind of ratting on him or betraying him to Dr. Quest and team. And the villain recaptured his henchman and was interrogating him. And he was just slapping the living daylights out of this guy in this kind of seedy basement. And it was I can't believe this is a children's cartoon from 1965. It was it was unsettling to watch.
Like I said, I kind of forgotten because I hadn't watched one of these in decades, and yeah, and the bullets are real bullets. They don't use just lasers.
Right.
It's intense. Like I said, when they crash or fall off a cliff, they're gone.
Right.
There's no getting back up.
Yeah, it was an unusual cartoon for its time, and I'm
Definitely
surprised it withstood like 20 years of syndication as like the censors came on, and all those controls that they put on He-Man and G.I. Joe and the Transformers, and as far as violence went. I mean, Thundar the Barbarian was kind of run off the air because of its violence, which was far less than what Jonny Quest got away with, which is strange.
It was Hanna-Barbera usually. Excuse me, you think Hanna-Barbera.
Oh, yeah.
The Flintstones. And Jetsons.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're pretty laid back, but this is very edgy. So. Okay, well, I've got mine, The Goonies, which is a movie that came out June 9th, 1985, written by Steven Spielberg and Chris Columbus. It was a movie about, for you, the listener that may not know, it's an adventure treasure hunt movie where these kids that are 10, 11 years old, the four main ones anyway, 10, 11 years old, maybe 12, go on this adventure to find the treasure of One-Eyed Willie to save their homes, basically, the Goondocks as they call them. So they go on this adventure to find the treasure and get chased by the Fratellis and get in all sorts of trouble with the Fratellis, who was an Italian gang that were killing people, and they caught them killing these people, so they're going after the kids to find the treasure, but then also to make sure they don't tell the cops on what's going on. And of course, spoiler alert, in the end, they end up getting the money and saving their houses. But it's a fun movie. I love it. I was telling Lee I had to force myself to rewatch it again.
Yeah, it's
to get prepared for the episode.
It's totally brutal. Sitting through that again just had to be rough. Yeah, this is the moral dilemma I have with this. The competition we've devised on this is, I mean, Jonny Quest, I loved it as a kid, and that's the group I went with. But then you picked the Goonies, and I'm like, how can I possibly fight the Goonies? Also, one of the most treasured parts of my childhood.
I know.
It's like lose-lose. Catch-22 fight here.
I know. It's, yeah. Like, I don't know. I can't do it. It's like saying something bad about your mom. You just can't do it. But yeah, it's just a fun movie. So if you haven't seen it, I recommend picking it up. I think it ages fairly well. It's obviously a little dated, but it's just a fun movie.
Yeah.
So what about the power sets for Jonny Quest?
All right, so Jonny Quest, to make it fair, I guess, in our boy band brawl here, you've just selected the original 4 Goonies, and you've kind of skipped like the older brother and like the 2 female characters are joined on, and was Sloth.
Sloth, yeah.
Yeah, so you've just got the original 4. Yep. So Jonny Quest had original trio of characters. There was Jonny Quest, his friend Haji, and his dog Bandit. And to make it fair, I had to dig into the real adventures of Jonny Quest in the 90s. They introduced a 4th character, Jess Bannon, who's the daughter of the henchman, mercenary, whatever you want to call him, bodyguard of Dr. Quest, Race Bannon.
Race Bannon, yeah.
Right. So those are my 4 characters, Jonny, Haji, Jesse, and Bandit. So I'm going to cover each one here a little bit. So Jonny was, in the original series, he was 11 years old. In the real adventures, he was 14. He's the son of a globe-trotting scientist, Dr. Quest, who would often be called all over the world to solve these strange problems or do, whatever his science was needed for. So Jonny is really intelligent for his age, very brave. Like I said, his father takes him on these globe-trotting adventures, and he often gets separated from his father and kind of like finds himself, due to his bravery and curiosity and adventuresomeness, he kind of works himself into these like quasi-dangerous, or actually they're just flat out dangerous situations. He's athletic for a young boy, often seen like running, jumping, sliding around. He's learned judo, I'm assuming from Race. And in fact, one episode that I was watching, there were these frogmen that were pretending, scuba guys, not like literally frogmen creatures, but these scuba guys that were pretending to be like these lizard men creatures, and they like snuck up on Jonny on this like ditched pirate boat, and Jonny like judo flips 2 grown men like over his shoulder into like into the swamp. And I was like, holy cow, this 11-year-old boy just tossed 200-pound men over the rails. So don't mess around with Jonny and his judo. He's got a variety of skills that I'm assuming he's picked up from his globetrotting father and Race Bannon. He knows how to scuba dive. There's episodes where he's driving motorcycles around. He can handle firearms. He shot guns in various episodes. His father gives him a lot of like advanced technology, which he knows how to operate. He's got communicators, little wrist communicators or hand communicators. There's episodes where he flies around in jetpacks. for an 11-year-old kid, 11 to 14-year-old kid, he's got an amazing skill set that I wish I had.
Yeah.
And his friend Haji. So Haji's the same age as Jonny, 11 or 14, depending on the original or the Real Adventure reboot. He's an orphan from India, and he kind of grew up on the streets, and he's street smart, and he's savvy, and he's kind of rough around the edges a little bit, where Johnny's kind of a little more, I don't want to say naive, but, he grew up kind of in a wealthy family.
More posh.
Right, where Haji, he knows how to take care of himself at the most, the lowest level of survival. Haji has some strange mystical powers. Apparently he's like the seventh son of a seventh son. And so he's got some limited mystical powers, which is interesting. There's episodes where he charms snakes. He can do some minor levitation. I've seen him lift like a grown man in his levitation. He lifts Bandit a lot, usually for comedic effect, but there's episodes where he's lifting an enemy. And he can do some limited hypnotism. So he does have some mystical powers. He was partially raised by like a disenfranchised American Marine that moved to India. And he also taught judo to Haji. And that was one of the things when Jonny and Haji first met, they got in a little bit of a fight and they kind of like came to a stalemate in their judo. And that kind of, as boys are like, oh, you know judo? I know judo and you're pretty good at this. Well, let's be friends. It's kind of weird, but that's their original bond that they came through. And then Haji also has some like amazing reflexes as well. In one of the episodes, this guy throws a knife at Dr. Quest, and Haji like lifts the lid off this basket and like catches the knife like in midair, like Jack Burton style. And
awesome.
So he's got some pretty good reflexes. Jessie Bannon, who would be my third character. She's 1 year older than Jonny. So in the Real Adventure, she'd be 15 and Jonny would be 14. She's Race Bannon's daughter. So, he's one of the coolest guys in cartoon history.
He is.
So
he's basically the nanny, but he's like a really cool nanny.
Yeah, Race Bannon. He's just like this self-assured, calm. He can fly planes. He can fly helicopters. He can shoot any firearm to like expert level. He knows 4 times in martial arts. Anyway, Race Bannon's not part of the competition, but I'm using him as a reference to show that this is the the young lady that came from his genetic material. So she's got that inner system. In the cartoon, she's depicted as a lot tougher and smarter and more thoughtful than Jonny, where he's kind of this brash adventurer. She's kind of the one that's like, hey, have you thought this all the way through?
Sure.
Let's have a plan before we jump, into the dangerous pit of snakes, whatever they're going to be doing.
She's the brains of the bunch.
Kinda, yeah. So she's cool, calm, independent, and, as a 90s cartoon, I'm sure she was introduced because the original Jonny Quest show of the 60s had really no female character at all. So they needed to probably introduce her to get to a different demographic, and times had changed over the last 30 years. So I'm sure that was the impetus for her character. And then the fourth one, Bandit, in my trio. And I'm gonna self-deprecate here a little bit that Bandit's the most useless one of my 4 characters.
He's the comic relief.
He's the comic relief. He's my Orko, or my Uni or whatever, my Snarf, my Lookie, whatever. Pick your 80s cartoon. He's the comedic sidekick. So Bandit's a bulldog that's got like a black marking over his eye, therefore the name Bandit. He has 0 powers. In fact, he's not even a full-grown bulldog. He's a pup.
Yep.
So he's I can't even say that he's really in a I would say a full-grown bulldog would have some muscle in this fight, but you won't have that as either.
No.
Unlike most Hanna-Barbera dog-like characters, he has no anthropomorphic ability. He doesn't talk like Scooby-Doo or like Hong Kong Phooey. He's just for a dog, he is fairly intelligent. He seems to understand what Jonny kind of says and kind of occasionally help him out, but he doesn't have that ability to speak or rationalize thought or anything of that nature. And when I was doing my research on it, interesting tidbit is Bandit was originally not one of the characters when it was originally designed. The writer wanted a monkey because he thought a monkey. The writer and producers were going for something very serious in this cartoon, and they didn't want anything sort of cartoony or silly about it. So this monkey was going to be a more serious helper to Jonny Quest, but still had the ability to kind of get into shenanigans like monkeys could. And then the marketing team and everyone got involved and no, boy's got to have his dog. And, and then when they drew Bandit, he kind of came off as more like Fred Flintstone and, in style, your typical Hanna-Barbera kind of George Jetson's dog. And he really didn't match with the animation style of the rest of the cartoon. So anyway, there's my 4 characters and their abilities.
You get marketing involved and they screwed up.
Yeah.
That's a running joke. I think on the Snake Men or Lizard Men episode, they use him to take the key back, so they put him through the air vent.
A bandit.
Bandit.
Yeah.
So yeah, he does have some intelligence.
He's kind of
He's like a dog. He'll sniff something out. So he's kind of.
Yeah.
You're right. He's not in a fight. He's not going to be much good, but
right.
Get out of he might notice something maybe.
Right. He has like maybe out to like a lassie level
there
intelligence.
you go.
A dog that kind of knows what's going on, but can't communicate.
Yeah.
Really isn't like self-aware, so to speak, but knows when master's in trouble and I'll go get help or whatever.
That type of thing. Okay. Well, I've got the Goonies. There's 4 characters. You got Mikey Walsh. He's the so-called leader of the Goonies. And the Goonies never say die is the common thing. I forgot to mention that. So, and then they also have the Goonie Oath. I'll have to put that up maybe in the show notes, but we'll see. It didn't make it in the movie. Anyway, so Mikey's the leader. He has trouble pronouncing words because he's always in the movie. He's saying the words wrong.
Just what you want in a leader. Someone has trouble communicating.
Yeah, but exactly. He's able to do the thoughtful speech to kind of motivate people, though. When they're in the well, he does the little speech and, hey, we're smart enough. We got farther than Chester Copperpot, and I think we can do this. So I think he's got some motivational skills.
He's the emotional leader as opposed to the intellectual leader.
Yeah, there you go. He is able to decipher the map. He's able to read the map, and he's a big fan of Mad Magazine. And I guess that's where they said he was able to get... I didn't know this, but Mad Magazine had some fold-ins that had some puzzles and stuff. So I guess since he was a fan of those, he was able to solve those. And that's where he was maybe got some of the skills to read the map. Yeah. He's also a fan of Superman and the Hardy Boys. So maybe he picked up some of those mystery solving skills from the Hardy Boys.
Sure.
So in a fist fight, probably not going to be much help, but if he's negotiating back and forth, to talk everybody down, maybe there could be some abilities there. Then that leads us to Mouth, Clark Mouth DeVoy, I think is how you pronounce his last name. Mouth is obviously by his nickname, he shoots off his mouth a lot, so he's going to be able to name call really well.
Right.
He does know Spanish, which they used in the movie to help decipher the map.
Right.
And he also has he did have his own action figure. Funko did a Goonies mouth reaction figure.
Interesting.
So, hey, I've got my own action figure. Not going to be much help in a fight, but again, he's a good talker, and I think he might be able to trick somebody into do something that they don't want to do. He's a good manipulator.
Yeah, I'll do that.
So again, maybe not the best in a fist fight, but again, might be able to talk his way out of it. Or trick you. Then we come to Chunk. Lawrence Cohen, or Chunk, as he is known.
Truffle Shuffle.
The truffle. He can do if we're going to do a dance-off, he might be able to win because of the truffle shuffle. Down. Yes, exactly. The truffle shuffle wins. Again, he's a chronic liar. Because you remember in the movie, he calls up the sheriff and he lists off all these different things he's called up and lied about. Yeah. Which one of them was kind of funny since it's Steven Spielberg. It says, the sheriff said, and that one time you called in and said you found some animals that if you get them wet, they multiply.
They're
obviously a callback to Gremlins.
Yeah.
And then Michael Jackson visited his house.
Yeah.
So he's a good liar. And so you don't know what he's going to say.
Important life skill.
Yeah, there you go. But another power that he has is he can tell the flavor of ice cream just by smelling it.
Wow!
Because you remember he's in there in the freezer, and
I remember.
He can smell it.
Yeah,
and he can do the same thing with pizza. So if you have a box of pizza, he can tell what's on the
ingredients
pizza just by the smell.
By the smell, he's got super smell.
Super sniffer.
Yeah.
He loves Domino's pizza, and he's Jewish, so he knows Hebrew.
All right,
but he has a lot of accidents, but in the end, they actually turn up being good. For example, when he spills the jar of water and it goes down the fireplace, well, because of the accidents he gets into, it found the fireplace. And then also when he goes and stops the car on the road to get help, and it ends up being the Fratellis. Mm-hmm. But that ends up leading to Sloth, which Sloth ends up helping them in the end.
In the end, right.
So he kind of always falls backwards into trouble, but it always turns out good.
It's
so
like... in the Domino character from
Deadpool.
Luck is a superpower.
Yes, there you go. So Chunk has luck.
Yeah,
that's his superpower. In a fight, you might be on top of him, but for some reason, something happens and you fall off, or
that's right,
you punch the rock. I don't know. Anyway, last but not least, and the most interesting, I think, is Data. Richard Wang, or Data. He is an inventor. He has lots of different goofy inventions that he comes up with. Yeah. But I found out in the research, all of those inventions that he has were actually workable inventions.
Really?
They didn't work always consistently, but the inventors, the guys that made it for the movie, I'm trying to find their name here.
Yeah.
Doyle Smiley and Matt Sweeney were the special effects guys.
Okay.
And they said every one of those inventions you see on screen actually does work.
Functional. They're weren't just props, but they were functional gizmos and gadgets.
Exactly. They were functional inventions.
I wonder if those are on eBay or something. How much would you pay for the camera that comes out on springs or whatever, and all those little gadgets that he had?
Maybe. The funny story, you mentioned that the map, they gave Sean Astin the map from the Goonies. And his mom was cleaning his room and thought it was just a scrap of paper and threw it away.
Really?
Mom! Oh. So, okay, some of the inventions: pop-out boxing gloves, slick shoes, bully blinders, the pinchers of peril or pinchers of power.
Oh, yeah.
And then the suction cup belt.
Yeah, he's your ringer for sure.
Yes, that's the one you want. The inventions that were cut, they had 3 more inventions. The Intimidator, which it was a kind of a blow-up air bladder that made him bigger, and then his shoes made him taller.
Oh, okay.
And then the Glasses of Death were glasses that had rubber darts that could shoot out on each side.
Okay.
And then Spy Eyes, which is a pair of binoculars that attached to his waist, kind of like the camera at the end where it comes out.
Right.
So it was a pair of binoculars.
Very cool.
That's my 4 characters. In a fight, I don't know. On this one, I think Jonny Quest probably has the advantage. I'll have to concede.
Yeah.
Because from what I gather from Jonny Quest, he also has a lot of money. So I think, like you said, the ringer for me is Data. Right. He's going to be your best bet to go to. But I guess Data could share some of these cut inventions that we have with these other guys. Maybe he could give Mouth the Glasses of Death.
Right. Share the wealth around. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a mixing of genres here, where Jonny Quest was meant to be a more serious. So you see these characters who have a lot of abilities and access to technology, and then you've got the Goonies where it's almost more slapsticky. They're the hard luck kids that are always find a way to succeed. Through their own wit or luck or tenacity. Yeah, I don't know. You could see this fight going. I mean, the edge clearly seems to go to Jonny Quest with the judo and the jetpacks and the
gear,
and the globetrotting experience where he's fought dinosaurs and frogmen and all sorts of the powers of mysticism for Haji against these kids from the other side of the tracks. These scrappy guys that will just never give up and always find a way to win.
Yep.
So it's kind of like the clashing of almost these two worlds, and it would be an interesting. Brawl to see go down.
The Goonies do have the tenacity.
Yeah.
And they've got 4 humans instead of 3 and a dog.
Yeah, see, Bandit's my weak link.
So that kind of helps offset a little bit.
Yeah.
It's we got 3 against 4.
Yeah.
But I agree. The Goonies do have the tenacity, it seems like. They saw what they needed to do, and they needed to save their homes, and they did what they needed to do to get the job done. Mm-hmm. So I think persistence and determination are probably on their side. So I guess I'll give him that.
Yeah.
It's just interesting to see that I didn't know Data had all this other stuff. So I think he's definitely probably the smartest of the bunch. I mean, obviously Johnny's got some intelligence, but I think Data in some cases, and he just always seems to, again, he's kind of like Chunk. All these happy accidents seem to happen with Data. He's able to make it work.
His gadgets don't always work as intended, but somehow they have a consequence which is still beneficial to the group. And
exactly. He knows how to set booty traps. I mean, booby traps. That's what I said.
Oh, and that was something else when you were going through your character biographies here that I didn't know a lot of the real names of these characters. I just knew them as Chunk, Mouth, and Data. This is obviously a PC podcast, but Data's name is really Richard Wang.
Yeah.
I mean, how brutal with the writers. I mean, just not stereotypical, but just the illusions of my name's Richard Wang.
All you have to say is the 80s.
Yeah. Wow.
It's the 80s. Wow. That would not fly today.
Poor kid. Yeah. And that is another interesting thing. My wife and I were talking about this past weekend. We went to the Alamo Draft House movie theater in outskirts of Omaha. and they showed the Monster Squad, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
which is another movie similar to Goonies in that time frame. I think it's a couple of years later where it's
Yeah.
a group of kids that are kind of like adventuresome and like overcoming odds through tenacity and intelligence and resourcefulness. And it's not the masterpiece that I think Goonies is, but it's still really good. But you see some of them in the Goonies, but you see more of it in Monster Squad, where these kids get away with things that you could not get away with in today's movies. And there's like strings of profanity. There's like a scene in Monster Squad where the kids are like being peeping toms on like the girl next door, and it's like super, in today's in the 80s that was like socially acceptable. You see a slew of movies where there's, from Police Academy to, I'm trying to think of other ones where, that was acceptable, but like
Nerds.
Yeah, Nerds was another one. Revenge of the Nerds.
Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah. And like, but in today's context, that's totally unacceptable.
Yeah.
So, and you see a little bit of that in Goonies where they're just doing things that you like, ugh,
Yeah, you don't want to
cringe
do
on
that.
today's societal
That's a good
expectations. So, and I'm sure there's some of that in Jonny Quest too. I mean, especially a product of the 60s.
Oh, yeah. It's very dated, you can tell, but again, still fun.
Yeah.
I think the Goonies too has an advantage too, their camaraderie. They're very close. And I think that could lead to, we're going to fight to the death to save each other.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how well connected Johnny and Haji and Jesse are.
Yeah, there was definitely, there was friction. If you watch some of the new adventures, Jonny Quest, Jess Bannon is often seen as kind of like looking, I don't want to say looking down on Johnny, but kind of like, hey, you knucklehead, you need to think a little bit more before you act. And there was that tension, but you see that also in the Goonies as well. That's
true.
Some of the characters that they'd pick on Chunk, or they'd yell at Mouth, or there's always friction.
Jerk
between.
alert!
Yeah, exactly.
But Mouth is mean to everybody.
Yeah.
There's a Rosalita. Oh my god, this is hilarious. He's telling her.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would probably have to concede Johnny may have an advantage in this one, depending on the scenario, but probably overall,
unless that
two guys that know judo, a guy can hypnotize,
coming in on jetpacks.
Yeah, I mean the advantage, Data might be able to take one of them out right away with his pinches of power or something like that.
Yeah. But, I would concede. Yeah, probably Jonny Quest, unless like the power of luck just like totally comes in for Chunk and Data, and everything just happens as the stars align. Yeah. But maybe we turn it over to the viewers again and have them vote Goonies versus Jonny Quest,
because you could have a. Haji slips and falls and breaks his arm.
Right.
Taking on Chunk.
Yeah, because he spilt the ice cream and there's a slippery spot or something.
Yes, right? That's true. If you're fighting for ice cream or Baby Ruth, Chunk might just go crazy.
Yeah, you never know.
So, okay. Well, yeah, you the listener, Goonies or Jonny Quest. Our last but not least category that we have is called Spoons and Spatulas. And this is pitting Alfred against Aunt May in a cook-off.
Yeah, not your typical brawl. We're going a little lighthearted on this one.
Yes.
To whose food would you rather eat? Alfred's fine cuisine or Aunt May's home-cooked meals?
Yes.
So you go first this time, since I started last time.
All right, so I got Alfred from Batman, who was originally called Alfred Beagle. Which I didn't know that.
Is that
originally.
Pennyworth now? Or?
It's Alfred Pennyworth now.
Yeah, right.
It changed, I guess, in the 40s. I don't know.
Oh, I totally forgot to bring this up in the Jonny Quest. His name by the original writers was Chip Ballou.
Oh, gosh.
And then, like, someone said, like, that's
Chip Ballou.
Chip Ballou. And I don't know, like, the Hanna-Barbera team or marketing or someone stepped in and, like, that is clearly not a cool name.
Oh, wow.
And so they came up with Jonny Quest, and that was one of the changes that they made.
Chip Ballou.
I guess they wanted was something a little more like young or innocent, so they went with Chip Ballou. But they're like, no, we got to make it a little cooler.
First, you got Race Bannon.
Bannon.
But I mean, he's just the coolest guy on the planet, so you got to be Race.
I have two daughters and I love them to death. But if I would have had a boy, it would have been Race Bannon.
Tell your wife that. So okay.
Anyway, back to Alfred.
Yeah, Alfred Beagle, who's Alfred Pennyworth now, is the butler for Batman, or Bruce Wayne. He actually spent some time as a British guard. He was the one that took over basically as the father figure for Bruce Wayne when his parents died.
Right.
He became the legal guardian of Bruce Wayne when he died. That was part of the will, I guess, that the Waynes had set up. And so since he was 11 or 10 or whenever his parents were shot, he was the father figure for Bruce Wayne. and he takes care of the mansion, takes care of the finances, and that's kind of his role. He is kind of the moral compass for Batman. I think in lots of cases he's kind of stepped in and said, hey, you're going too far, you might need to stop. And so I think he's the wisdom behind the brashness that Bruce Wayne gets into on that respect. So he's been around pretty much since the beginning and is involved with Bruce's life and takes care of the house. Like I said, he also helps cleans the bat suit and everything else. In one of the funny thing that he, I think he had a quote in one of the episodes of the animated series. But yeah, he's been in the cartoon. He's been in the comic books. He also helped with washing the Batmobile.
Right.
And let's see, I think that's basically it. So he's been around, like I said, since the beginning. I don't know if they've killed him off. I was trying to do a little research, but
they better not have.
I don't think they, how they comic books, they
right.
kill him off and bring him back.
Right.
But I don't think they've ever done that in my research. I'm not a huge Batman reader, so I'm probably limited. So I had to do a little bit of work to find out some more information about him. So that's Alfred.
All right, well, I went with May Parker, most commonly known as Aunt May, from the Marvel Comics books of Spider-Man. She was created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko in 1962, and Amazing Fantasy number 15 was her first appearance. She is the aunt by marriage of Peter Parker and sort of becomes the adoptive mother, guardian of Peter Parker when he's orphaned and raised by Aunt May. In most storylines of Spider-Man, she does not know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. She is nurturing and supportive of Peter, just like a mother should be, and that stereotypical mother to daughter kind of relationship is what she embodies. And she's often seen as in the comics kind of frightened or put off by what Spider-Man does, and it causes character tension between Peter and Aunt May because she wouldn't approve if she knew what he was doing. So that is, she's had several movie adaptations as well. Just, Spider-Man's been brought to the small and big screen, both played by a variety of amazing women, from Rosemary Harris, Sally Field, to today's Marissa Tomei, where she is the youngest / hottest version of Aunt May, because she's kind of depicted as son of an older, frail woman who's the typical homemaker of the 50s or 60s, where Aunt May is clearly a younger, more progressive, modern, independent woman.
Yeah, she's always kind of viewed as your grandma. If you thought of your grandma, that would be your Aunt May.
Yeah.
Funny story about Rosemary Harris, or interesting story. I had a friend that won tickets to the Spider-Man 2 premiere back in 2004.
Okay.
And so I was there, and I was leaving the theater. Everybody was crowded around Tobey Maguire and Kirsten and everybody else. But over to the side was Rosemary Harris.
Oh, really?
Not talking to anybody. So I just went over and started talking to her. And she's like, oh, yeah, I'm here for the, what'd you think of the movie?
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed doing it. And she introduced me to her granddaughter. So I brought my granddaughter to
Very
here.
cool.
And she lives, over here. She goes to this school. And she's, a really good student, and it was just kind of a fun,
that's awesome,
2 or 3 minute conversation.
You've met Aunt May in the flesh.
Yeah, and she was just really nice. She was just like a regular, well, they all are.
She was like real Aunt May.
Yeah, just really nice, just pleasant to talk to, and so I thought that was kind of interesting. But I did find that I was trying to find this earlier, that some of the fun quotes that Alfred has in the Batman animated series. He says, "Well, you're the very model of sanity. Oh, by the way, I pressed your tights and put away your exploding gas balls."
That, you brought up the animated series. What was that? It was early 90s?
Yeah,
92, 93, something like that?
92 to 98, I think, something like that.
What a great, relaunch, reboot for Batman. As growing up, I wasn't a super Batman fan. I enjoyed the storyline, and I would kind of get into it off again. But when that cartoon came out, and that style of animation and the character development, it was just I was blown away. What another great example of a great reboot.
My daughter, 17, she found it on Netflix and started watching it. She likes it. She even said, "Yeah, I like this. This is just a fun show."
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Harley Quinn was a character introduced in the animated series. She's one of those rare ones that she was introduced in the animated series, and then she later became a comic book, not the other way around.
Exactly, yeah.
So she's kind of unique in the comic universe that way.
Yeah, very popular. Yeah, she was introduced in the animated series. Mm-hmm. Kind of like the Wonder Twins.
Oh, there you had to go there.
Had to go there.
Those were...
They're in the closet with Modulok.
Yeah, I loved that cartoon as a kid, the Super Friends. Yes. Yeah, that was also one of my favorite ones. But man, the Wonder Twins, was it Zan and
Jaina?
Zan and
Gleek.
And Gleek. Oh yeah, and then the annoying sidekick
again.
Yeah,
another Gleek and Bandit and Orko.
But I always felt sorry for him because his superpower was to change into something that was like the form of water.
Yeah.
Like, so she was always like, I'm going to be a bear or a tiger. And he's like, I'm going to be a bucket of water.
I'm going to be an ice bucket.
I'm going to be, yeah. And it's like, good thing we don't fight sponges or you would totally get trashed.
The Anyways. That's a whole nother story.
Back to the cook-off.
And then another funny quote, I drew your bath. And it's a picture of a bathtub.
For Alfred?
For Alfred, yeah.
Yeah, he's snarky.
He's witty and snarky, yes.
Well, he would often mentor Bruce in that way where he wouldn't really come out and kind of say his point.
You're being an idiot.
But yeah, he would kind of like, let me, break this down snarky style, kind of obtusely for you.
Exactly.
It was awesome.
He was good at that. So his attributes or skill sets, he is a skilled actor. I guess he did some theater back in England. He also was part of MI6, and he's proficient in emergency and medical techniques, which comes in handy for Bruce. In fact, another quote that he had was, let's see, I'll prepare your usual breakfast, toast, coffee, and bandages.
Yeah.
Because he was constantly sewing up Batman.
Yeah.
He also is very good at computers, proficient with mechanical and computer systems. Mm-hmm. He's an expert in domestic sciences, for those of you as cooking and cleaning and taking care of the house.
There's the first attribute that's going to help him in the cook-off.
Yes. He has a good demeanor, and he can wield a firearm. In fact, he's the only one in the house that's allowed to have a firearm.
Really?
I guess his shotgun, is his common weapon of choice if he needs to defend the Wayne Manor.
Okay.
He has been, this is funny, he has been kidnapped 27 times. And has overcome each one of them. I'm like, well, come on, Batman. Why are you letting him get kidnapped 27 times? Yeah. But he is also does like I said, he's the legal guardian, but he also plans all of the galas at Wayne Manor. So he's in charge of the kitchen and the entertainment and whatnot. So I think he's going to get some of his cooking skills in the taking care of those events that he does at Bruce Wayne's Manor. He also has a very variety of skill sets in the cooking range. I guess the Red Hood, Robin, is a fan of chili dogs. Mm-hmm. So he's not only got to cook caviar and shrimp, but chili dogs for Robin.
Yeah.
So he can do the basic stuff all the way up to the fancy French cuisine.
Well, that's good. I do love me a good chili dog.
That's right. Let's see. And it does say that he is a skilled chef.
Okay.
So I don't know. It doesn't really... At least in my research, I didn't find if he's been to a culinary school. If he's been referred to as a chef, I would assume so. Yeah. And he was in Europe, so he's got that fine cuisine training. Yeah. Plus, he has access to all the wealth that Bruce Wayne would have to have all the best
ingredients and best kitchen set up and all
maybe
that.
He's gone to some extra training since he has to put on these gala events that he's had. So I don't know. Or he hires somebody to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Alfred is definitely like your storybook Renaissance man, where he's got a wide variety of skill sets from the functional to like the exotic, and he's an amazing character. Who I guess my favorite character trait about Alfred is he's so kind of like humble and understated. Even though he's like this amazing guy, he like takes this secondary role, and he knows how to really support like the greater good and becomes like part of the team. And he's not like anywhere involved about like, it's about Alfred, it's always about like Bruce or the band or the Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. I think that's part of the disguise is I don't let people on that I'm actually, part MI6 and I can take you out in 8 different ways. Right. I'm just this menial butler. Right. The world's view of him is this menial butler. So I think it's probably part of the whole cover for Batman too.
Yeah, just an amazing character.
Yeah.
Okay, well, on to Aunt May and her cooking skills that I'm going to bring to the fight here. So obviously does not have Alfred's repertoire of cooking classes or the finest kitchens or its global experience. But Aunt May is renowned for her like home cooked, home styled recipes. In fact, in Spider-Man's very first appearance in what was it, Amazing Stories number 15, there's a panel where Aunt May is bringing Peter Parker a plate of wheat cakes or pancakes, and you quote, I cooked you your favorite breakfast, Petey, wheat cakes, and the uncle's standing there saying, "Don't fatten him up too much, dear. I can hardly wrestle the boy now." And
his wheat cakes.
So these wheat cakes continue to appear over and over again throughout the Spider-Man storyline, where Aunt May's making these irresistible wheat cakes that Peter Parker or any other character can't seem to resist. That's what I think, even though she doesn't maybe have Alfred's wide variety of cooking skills and techniques and foreign and exotic foods, she has these wheat cakes that apparently nobody can resist.
Yeah, this is the blue ribbon wheat cakes.
Yeah, the blue ribbon wheat cakes. And while I was kind of doing my research on this, I found there's a very well-known artist, Frank Cho, who's worked for DC, he's worked for Marvel. He's one of the top artists in the field. He's got, I don't know if these were done for commissions or if they were just done as parodies for his own sale or enjoyment or whatever, but he's got this entire line of joking on these Aunt May's wheat cakes where the various characters in the Marvel Universe can't resist them. And Frank Cho's known for kind of drawing very like full-figured, curvy women. So it's kind of like this tongue-in-cheek joke that these wheat cakes are kind of fattening them up and making them even more curvaceous and whatever, desirable.
Yes.
And they can't resist it, so they just keep eating these wheat cakes. And some of these little meme shots that Frank Cho had done were kind of funny. So,
did he do the controversial Spider-Woman?
Yeah, where she's like kind of bent over on the edge, and everyone kind of got
Is that the same guy?
Yeah, it's still Frank Cho.
Okay, it is.
Yeah, it caused a huge controversy.
Yes.
He actually did another line of skits on that where he has basically there's this character where he does like again more provocative shots of these superheroines, and there's like another, I think it's Spider-Gwen or. She's like always outraged, and she's like drawn as like this skinny little character, not like his normal like curvaceous character. And she was like, "This is outrageous," And he's kind of poking fun at his critics. But anyway, yeah, that's the guy who got. In fact, he got in. He did a bunch of covers for I think for Wonder Woman, and he got like I don't know if it was fired or released off it because they were just like too provocative. It wasn't what DC was looking for. But to my knowledge, he's the current cover artist for Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn, oh.
And he's, I don't know how many covers he's done for them, but I think he's the current cover artist for Harley Quinn.
Obviously, the split wasn't too
right. They were like, we just don't. Yeah, same company. We don't want you working on Wonder Woman. We want you working on this more satirical character of Harley Quinn as opposed to
makes
more.
Sense. Wonder Woman's more traditional.
Yeah, and she's kind of a figure for like women's rights and everything right now, and where
Harley Quinn is.
Well, maybe Harley Quinn's she's a very liberated, independent woman, but she's more of a satirical, comedical character, so they can get away with maybe some more.
That's true.
A Frank Cho style of art.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, so that's the wheat cakes. The only other thing I could found out on Aunt May, where she's kind of crafty in the kitchen. In one of the episodes, one of the villains, Chameleon, had like come to Spider-Man's house. Aunt May was in danger, so she bakes some cookies and she chops up. Apparently, MJ takes Ambien, so she takes MJ's Ambien and like she chops it up and puts it in the cookies. And then she actually adds like extra almond extract, which apparently, I can't remember if it's cyanide or arsenic, has like an almond taste or smell to it. So then she serves Chameleon these cookies, and he thinks he's poisoned by arsenic or cyanide, but then he just gets sleepy and he falls asleep. And when Spider-Man finally arrives to save the day, Aunt May's like, "Don't worry, I got it."
I gotta take care of it.
Chameleon's sleeping in the corner on my Ambien, almond extract cookies.
That's awesome.
So she's got she's crafty.
She's a little crafty. Well,
yeah.
She does, especially if it's the older looking Aunt May, she does look like a frail old grandma.
Right. So
the villain isn't going to be like, "Oh, I got to watch out for her."
Yeah, it's like, "You want some cookies, sweetie?" And he's like, "Sure." While I wait for Spider-Man to show up so I can kick his butt or whatever.
Kick his butt, then he falls asleep because of the Ambien.
Right.
That's awesome. Okay. That's kind of what I was thinking. If the cook-off is like your normal... Not normal, your TV shows where you have, I've got, both of you have to cook wheat cakes or whatever.
Right.
And each of them, they're limited to what they can use, ingredients and the kitchen equipment, where it's kind of even.
Right.
I would probably have to say Aunt May would have the advantage because Alfred have limitless money, can go out and do whatever he needs. So if it's a gala event where it's fancy food, fancy people, I think Alfred wins, hands down.
Right.
If it's an even we give you 2 hours in the kitchen and you both have to cook the same thing with the same ingredients, with the same equipment. Aunt May, I think, I assume the way I gather, she kind of grew up poor. So
yeah, middle, lower class.
Yeah, lower middle class. So she's used to being able to take the limited ingredients and what I have over here and make it work.
Right.
Whereas Alfred, I think, is kind of used to, I've been doing this for 20 years.
Right.
I have no limit on money and ingredients that I can get.
Yeah, I would agree. If the topic is wheat cakes and it's a wheat cake, we're having a pancake feed. I think Aunt May is going to win 9 times out of 10. But yeah, if we're going for a more sophisticated audience, on some of these cooking shows where they got to make like vichyssoise or something like that, Aunt May's gonna be like, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
So I think Alfred's gonna win, but. This one may be another one that comes down to the viewer. Would you rather have Aunt May's wheat cakes, or would you rather have escargot with Alfred, or whatever he's going to bake up?
But back to her being tricky, I guess maybe she would, even on that cooking show or at that event, she might slip Alfred some Ambien or something.
Yeah,
entice him with the cookies.
Yeah, that's true.
I didn't realize she was that crafty.
I didn't realize either. But yeah, that was in the comic books. That was like the older Aunt May, not the Marissa Tomei, kind of younger, whatever, feisty Aunt May. But
yeah, I think in the current one, you don't want her cooking, at least in the movie.
Yeah, like this is true. Cook. I would, Aunt May would lose if it's the Marissa Tomei character. She's probably losing 9 times. Out of 10.
Yeah.
I see her as kind of the woman who gets a lot of takeout and like pizza.
That's what I gathered from the movies. She
doesn't make a lot of whole movie. Or
takes her an hour to cook minute rice.
Exactly.
So yeah, spoons and spatulas. So I thought that was a fun idea to have the Alfred and Aunt May. So. But yeah, so we've got, I guess, to wrap up, we have all 3. We have the He-Man versus Hulk. We have the Jonny Quest versus the Goonies. And then Aunt May versus Alfred in a cook-off.
Yeah.
So let us know what your opinions are on who you think should win, or were we completely wrong, or are we missing some insight into some of these characters that might change the course of the battle. So simply hit us up on social media and let us know your thoughts. I want to thank Lee again for letting us crash his house and hang out in the cool man cave. We'll have to maybe discuss some of the items in the man cave sometime.
Oh, that'd be fun.
You've got lots of cool stuff. So, all right. Well, there it is. Nerd Deathmatch. Thank you for listening.
You have it, the Nerd Deathmatch. Again, like we said in the episode, let us know what you think. Who do you think should have won these different matches? And again, thanks to Lee Bokma for coming up with this idea. I hope we can do it again. It was a fun episode to record. So like I said, go to covertnerd.net to find out how you can reach me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or via email. And let us know what you think. Who do you think should have won? Who do you think should have lost? Anyway, thank you for listening. Again, until next time, nerd it up.